Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today I'm answering this question that comes from the Reddit SEO board. This person is asking a question about images and SEO, and they ask, I have been editing some alt attribute text of images as I read. This is critical to SEO. Can anyone confirm this? Is alt text the only one that impacts SEO? Should I also add descriptions, etc.? I also read that the file name of images may impact SEO. Is that true? I currently name my image files a number dependent on their page, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, any tips on writing alt attribute text? Research points at no more than 1 to 2 sentences and describing it as only inputting keywords if it makes sense. Thanks, all. All right. What is the alt attribute in images? Okay, so alt text, or the alt attribute as it is correctly named, is there for screen readers. The screen readers are special browsers that blind people or people that are sight impaired might use. Basically, it reads out the screen like the code of the site. But for people who are trying to see an image, for example, it can't really describe what's in the image just if your image file is named like 1.jpg or something like that. So those screen readers are there for what they call accessibility. Alternative text, or the alt attribute for images, is one of the most basic things that you can do. Now, an easy way to check is look in your source code for alt attribute. Most content management systems like WordPress or Drupal or Joomla or Squarespace, they allow you to put in alternative text or the alt attribute. Okay, I'll link up this article in the show notes in the video description at webaim.org. They have some good stuff here. But for example, if you look at the source code of this image here of George Washington, you'll notice where it says image source, it says gw.jpg, and you'll see in the code here it says alt equals example image. This alt attribute here is what the screen readers read when it's using this assistive technology browsers. Now, there's probably the most popular browser for blind people is called JAWS, J-A-W-S. It reads out these things. Now, one of the things that I would like to point out when it comes to SEO is the Google Search Rater Quality Guidelines. And this document is what the human curated search quality raters use to evaluate pages. They send that feedback to Google engineers, and Google engineers program the algorithm to try and reflect what humans would choose. One of the sections in here, it talks about expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. One of the things that it talks about in here, for all types of web pages, creating high quality main content takes a significant amount of at least one of the following: time, effort, expertise, or talent, or skill. Now, one of the things that I want to focus in on is the content of the site and the site itself. They specifically mention talent, skill, and expertise. Talent and skill, expertise, time, and effort. I believe that this really ties into adding alt images or alt text to images, because it's one of those things that is there for basic accessibility. A lot of people have long said that this is a part of SEO. A lot of people have said this for a long time. Now, a long time ago, well, actually I should say probably not even that long ago, many people would say that if you add keywords to the alt text, the alt attribute of images, that would help your SEO. In the same way that your title tag, what's in your title tag, what's in your H1, what's in the main content of the page. If you have your keywords there, then Google will know, like, hey, this page is about these things. Now, a lot of people went really overboard with this and would add keywords to the alt attribute. So when the screen readers would read this out, it would just get keywords and not describe the images in there. Now, a lot of people that I've talked to say that adding keywords to the alt attribute in images still seems to make a difference. I'm going to say that that is not necessarily where Google wants to go. Anything that can be manipulated is probably not a good signal. One thing that Google, I believe, looks for is the presence of the alt attribute in all images that are rendered with an image tag. Now you can render stuff with a picture tag as well. This is something I'm going through on my site and doing. You can render stuff with a picture tag and then have source subsets in here. If you're using things like WebP, WebP does not support the alt attribute. But if you have an image fallback that's a JPEG or a PNG or a GIF or anything that could be supported by an image tag, you can add the alt attribute here. And this, I say, the alt attribute for this particular image on my site is close-up of a power tool in a factory. So that is an example of what you would do. Now, if somebody came by with a screen reader, they'd be able to know what that image is. It's not overly keyword stuffed either. I believe that Google is looking for the presence of alt attribute text in an image to say that it is a high quality page that has some time, effort, and talent and skill put into it. If you are taking care of these little details, then it seems to do better. And anecdotally, I've seemed to notice that when you have a site that does not have alt attribute text filled into all the images, but if you go and take the time to go and fill all those in, those pages do seem to rise in the rankings if you're doing all the other stuff as well. Now, how much of a boost is that going to give you by itself? You should be doing all the best practices that Google tells you to do. It's kind of all adds up into the aggregate. My advice would be make sure that you're filling out the alt attribute on all your images. And whether you put keywords in there, if there's an opportunity for you to put keywords in there and it makes sense, then do it. But if you're just blatantly keyword stuffing and you're not describing what's in the image, I would say that's perhaps, maybe don't do that where it makes sense. Now, as far as the file names, I would not name them by numbers. I would probably name it something a little bit more descriptive. I don't know how much of an impact that's going to make. That's something that I've always tried to do, is name the file names of the images, something that's either close to what the page is about, or, you know, describe what it is and maybe put a keyword in there. But I wouldn't use numbers. It's just, it gets confusing and it has less semantic meaning. Now, Google's always looking at the source code of the page, so have some semantic meaning to like what you're naming the photos, what you're naming the images. That's probably the best way to go. You know, 1 to 2 sentences. I would just describe what it is. I wouldn't write like a whole short story here. I don't even know that you need 2 sentences. Probably 1 sentence or just a handful of words is probably sufficient to do it. Again, from what I've seen, just anecdotally, doing SEO for my own clients, Google's looking for the presence. If you have an image tag on the page, basically, they're looking for the alt attribute text to be filled in. Now, this person also asks about descriptions and stuff like this. Now, some content management systems like WordPress, they have places to fill in different things. Now, the 2 things that are most likely to be output are the title, and that is usually the name of the file in WordPress, and then the alt tag, the alternative text. Now, there is another place in there where you can put the caption. A good caption would be something like this. This would be like a caption right there, okay? Like something that goes below the image. And then a description. Now, not every theme will output those things. Now, on my site, like, it's basically a custom theme. I built it myself, and it's going to output the alternative text, and that's it. Unless there's a caption that I put in there specifically. Now, some themes that you might buy commercially from somewhere like ThemeForest or Studio Press or wherever, they might have different things that output. If you use the content management system to like input an image, it might pull in different things like that. And different content management systems like Drupal or Joomla, depending on how you have it set up, like what type of theme or template that you're using, it might output those things. But I'm going to tell you that you should be thoughtful about naming your image file and then have alt text, okay? So do those things. If you have a place to put a keyword in, go ahead. But, you know, those other things, if your theme outputs it, then, you know, whatever. It's just going to be part of the page content. But it's not going to make a huge difference, I don't believe. It's not going to add to the other part of this image tag that's being output in the HTML. And we're almost at 1,000 subscribers right now. Like I said, we're here about 3 days a week answering questions. So if you want to put something in the comment of the YouTube video, I'll be happy to answer your question. And I'd love to get to 1,000 subscribers, so be sure to subscribe. That's all I have for now. Until next time, peace.